Most welcome to another video in which we continue to discuss different ways for white to tackle the most, so to say, stubborn lines that black can play in the Sicilian defense. We touched upon, we discussed in the previous game, Magnusson-Palacios, a way for white to meet the Najdorf. Black continued playing Echo 6 instead of Echo 5, so it became more like a Scheveningen variation. But now, in today's game, we will see a more standard Najdorf line with Echo 5 played quickly. So we go about with a game from 2005 in which I played white against a very strong Spanish player, their board's #1 for many years. Let's see, I might confuse the first names of him. Perez, Manuel, I think, Palacios. Very strong Spanish player. He had 22.48 at that time in ELO, and I, who played white, I had 23.10 or something, I think. So I went about pawn to Echo 4, pawn to Echo 4. And black played pawn to Charlie 5, pawn to Charlie 5, as we are discussing the Sicilian defense. White played knight to Foxtrot 3, knight to Foxtrot 3. And black played pawn to Delta 6, pawn to Delta 6. Again, here white can, of course, play Bishop Bravo 5 check. That is also a very strong move. Then there are minor sublines like pawn to Charlie 3, for example. But I went for pawn to Delta 4, pawn to Delta 4. So we are in the open Sicilian. And black played Charlie takes Delta 4. Charlie takes Delta 4. And I went about with knight takes Delta 4. Knight takes Delta 4. All well-known stuff by now. Black played knight Foxtrot 6. Knight to Foxtrot 6. And I played knight to Charlie 3. Knight to Charlie 3. And black went for the Najdorf. Pawn to Alpha 6. Pawn to Alpha 6. And like in the game I played against Andreas Landgren in the who is a cited player in the highest league in the Swedish team competition in 2007, I here played Bishop to Echo 2. Bishop to Echo 2. And this is a line. There is a lot of theory here, of course, like in most lines of the Najdorf. But I like Bishop Echo 2 because it's a very flexible move. You develop a piece and you can continue with playing castles kingside, play it pretty slow and positional on the queen side, like in his days Anatoly Karpov often employed. But you can also go for the more sharp lines with the castle in queen side, as I already demonstrated in the previous video. Here, Landgren played pawn to Echo 6, and then the structure is very different from what we get now. I would say that Palacios played the better move. He went for pawn to Echo 5, pawn to Echo 5. And here, lately in some of the more prominent chessable courses, white often has gone for knight to Foxtrot 3. in a similar position. Normally they have not then put the bishop on echo 2. Jan Gustafsson, in a very interesting repertoire for white, has put the bishop on echo 3 instead of echo 2. So the dark square bishop was developed. And Anish Giri, instead of bishop echo 2, chose pawn to hotel 3. But both of them, when faced with pawn to echo 5, have retreated to foxtrot 3 with the knight. I've also tried that, but I don't really like that position for the knight. So I went knight to bravo 3 instead. Knight to bravo 3. And of course, this is not a fantastic square for the knight. You can see here that it can jump to Charlie 5, but that will be captured by the pawn on delta 6. Delta 4 is not available. Alpha 5 is, well, also controlled by black, and it is not always a fantastic square anyway for the knight, although it happens that it goes to alpha 5 in depending on circumstance. So echo 5 is a strong move simply, and as I said, I think the best move in the current position after bishop echo 2. But here I try to, if you go one move further before I continue the comment, black played bishop to echo 7, bishop to echo 7, a move that is very logical, classical development, and I try to exploit the drawback with echo 5. It has advantages, taking space in the center, pushing away the knight from delta 4 to an inferior square, in this case on bravo 3. So I played bishop to golf 5, bishop to golf 5. So by this I try to prove that echo 5 also suffers from weakening the square delta 5. This is a well-known concept, and it has often been employed with the knight on foxtrot 3 instead of bravo 3. But I think it works perfectly fine here as well. If black wanted to say that, okay, you now want to swap off the knight on foxtrot 6, thereby weakening black's control of delta 5, then black could have played knight bravo delta 7. That is true, but I think it also gives white a slight edge. White can push alpha 4, taking space on the queen side, so then the game turns into a somewhat different structure. And white probably follows up with castle king side, queen delta 2. Yeah, it can go in many ways. The claim that white does is that, okay, knight bravo delta 7 makes it possible for you to recapture with the knight on foxtrot 6. So that is not interesting for white. It is not so interesting for white to capture that. If the bishop is chased away from golf 5 by hotel 6, for example, probably would retreat to echo 3. But saying that, okay, the knight on delta 7 makes it more difficult for black to develop the bishop on Charlie 8. So it comes with a price. Both sides here have to give and take, of course. So that is just outlining a little bit what could have happened if black had played knight bravo delta 7. That is a principally very interesting way for black to play. But my opponent also went for one of the optional and also maybe the best line. He played bishop to echo 6. Bishop to echo 6. Bishop to echo 6, of course, aims at controlling delta 5, and if given time, black then can play knight bravo to delta 7 with the same idea as earlier discussed, that the knight can recapture if white swaps on foxtrot 6. But now already with the bishop developed to echo 6, so then black wouldn't have the problem with the locked in bishop on Charlie 8. At the same time, white has time now to swap on foxtrot 6, and that is what I do. Bishop takes foxtrot 6, bishop take foxtrot 6, and black plays bishop takes foxtrot 6. Bishop takes foxtrot 6. So, what have we achieved here as white? Yeah, a little bit. I still think that black is perfectly fine, but that is the case in most lines of, in all lines of the Najdorf, I would say all reasonably good lines. It is probably impossible for white to claim an advantage against the Najdorf. So we just have to aim for a position that we like to play, and we understand the ideas better, and thereby making it possible to win against even a well-prepared opponent. So, capturing on foxtrot 6 has given white more control over delta 5. And I think I will follow up with some more videos about the control of delta 5 in future. The pawn on delta 6 is also temporarily weakened. So it makes sense for white to put more pressure along the delta file. And I continue with queen to delta 3. Queen to delta 3. And here, when I checked with Stockfish 17 on my very powerful computer with 56 cores and 512 gigabyte RAM memory, I have invested a bit of money to get good analysis. Stockfish claims that black has equal chance. This is 0.0 according to the engine. But often black should sacrifice the pawn on delta 6 and thereby gaining counterplay compensation, because white loses a bit of time capturing the pawn on delta 6 in the future. Of course you cannot grab it directly, but if white puts a rook on delta 1 threatening to take on delta 6, black can often sacrifice that pawn. That is a concept that is I didn't think along these lines when I was playing the Najdorf as black far back in time, so that is something that has developed now with the strong chess engines. So I think if your opponent would think along these lines, it is a sign that you have a very well-prepared opponent. But even so, white has at least equal chances, but we will see how it goes in the game, and I would say that how this game develops is more typical for how what it would look like between two reasonably strong human players, not those silicon monsters, Stockfish and Leela and so on. Okay, black played knight to Charlie 6. Knight to Charlie 6. Putting the knight on Charlie 6 makes perfect sense here. Black tries to block the delta file. At the same time, it leaves a position that is still equal, but I would say easier to play for white. and you will see now what I mean. I went for castling queenside again. Castles queenside. Yeah, so this is something you maybe remember from my game against Landgren, that I like to go for castling queenside and then try to drum up an attack on the king side. But of course, the type of position we have here is very different from the one I had against Landgren. So, black continue with knight delta 4. Knight to delta 4. Yeah, a perfectly logical move. You have your bishop on foxtrot 6, giving additional support to the knight on delta 4. At the same time, now I got the opportunity to get rid of my misplaced knight on Bravo 3. So I played knight takes delta 4, knight takes delta 4, and black played echo takes delta 4, echo takes delta 4. And I continued knight delta 5, knight to delta 5. Jumping into the square, which I aimed at controlling with bishop G5, swapping off the knight on foxtrot 6. But black has the bishop on echo 6, so he plays bishop takes delta 5, bishop takes delta 5, and I recaptured with the pawn, echo takes delta 5. Up to here, I had this followed my preparation for the game. I wouldn't say I spent a lot of time preparing, but it was I had spent some little time thinking of what I would play against Palacios. This was actually played in the World Cup for IBCA, International Braille Chess Association. It is a team competition, 4 boards per team, and Sweden was here playing Spain it was in Greece in 2005. So now we have a position with uncolored bishop. White has a white square bishop and black has a black square bishop. Many people would say that makes the position drawish, but that is an oversimplification. That it's correct. Many times uncolored bishops lead to drawish positions, but if you can start attacking, your attack might actually gain in strength because the bishops are uncolored, simply because the opponent cannot attack. In this case, if I attack on white squares, black's bishop can't help that because it only goes on the black squares. So uncolored bishops gives more importance to more advantage to the side that has the initiative, and that is a very important principle to remember. And many weak players overlook it, so don't be among those. Here, I did not spend so much of time when I prepared for this game, but at least a bit. And it seems like Stockfish 17 doesn't like black to castles kingside. And that fact is very, very interesting, opening my blind eyes, if I may say so. And it shows that white's attack on the king side is too strong. So black should actually maybe go for here after we have swapped on delta 5, play for, let's say, putting the queen on alpha 5 and go for castles queenside instead. And that is absolutely not self-evident for most players. It still leads to interesting and complex fight. but I would say the chance that your opponent with black would play like Palacios, a strong player, 2248, experienced Najdorf player, that you would that most players will do as he did, going for castle's kingside, is very likely. So even this shows how good it can be to go a little bit for the not most common lines. White has played perfectly sound moves in the opening. The position is about equal, but black really have to know what he's doing to keep balance. All right, black castle kingside, castle's kingside. And this gives white the upper hand here. Here I played queen to foxtrot 3. Queen to foxtrot 3. Stockfish wanted white to immediately play pawn to hotel 4, claiming that black shouldn't capture on hotel 4 either way because white will get very good compensation for the pawn. So queen to foxtrot 3 was an idea that I had seen, I think in one game or just a theoretical article from somewhere. I just remembered I studied this position on the flight from Sweden down to Greece before the tournament started. I don't remember exactly what the article, where I read it, or so much what was in it, but I remember that I wanted to put the bishop on delta 3, and that was why I moved the queen to foxtrot 3. It's an okay move, not the strongest. Pawn to hotel 4 would have been better. So here it is room for your own preparation. Analyze a little deeper, then you will play better than I did. Black played bishop to echo 5, bishop to echo 5. That is also perfectly logical. You want to play queen to golf 5, as happened in the game, and get some pieces to the king side defending your king. But it turns out that they are actually standing in the way of the white pawns. So white, when rolling the pawns up the king side, actually gains a lot from the bishop on echo 5, and soon the queen comes to god 5. So it is actually not such a good way of playing. Still, black should probably have thrown up the pawns, bravo 5, alpha 5, bravo 4, alpha 4, trying to open files at all costs almost on the queen side, because now the position after black had castled king side, so that we know where black kings is going to be, has sharpened considerably. Even Stockfish in some lines thinks that the best black can do is play rook echo 8, rook echo 8, and then king foxtrot 8 to echo 7, trying to run. The king runs with the wind in his hair for all cost to the queen side. Not immediately maybe, but yeah, it comes up such ideas often when you analyze with the engine. So it shows that castle's king side is a very risky move for black to play. So bishop echo 5 has happened, and I played bishop delta 3. Bishop to delta 3. There are minor improvements for both sides here. When you analyze with the chess engine, you can see it. But the main ideas is what I'm trying to, I want to highlight the main ideas, so I will not go into details in every move. Bishop delta 3 is good in many ways, for many reasons. One of the more important reasons is actually that it blocks the pawn on delta 4. So that black can't sacrifice the pawn by pushing delta 3. The black bishop is not so good as the white one, because it is blocked by the pawn on delta 4. You can say, okay, white has a pawn on delta 5, but white's bishop is not hampered by this. It anyway eyes black's king's position, whereas the pawn on delta 4 stands in the way of the black bishop, so it can't put pressure on delta 2, bravo 2. An idea, by the way, that I anyway want to mention, although I just said I will not discuss all different options, is that the engines are interested in playing rook delta 3 in such positions. Very flexible move, aiming at sometimes going to bravo 3, attacking on the queen side, but also making it possible to swing for the rook to the king side. I didn't consider that very much. I thought bishop delta 3 was such a natural move for a human being, it really is. And I also wanted to put pressure on black on the clock. I have now played 16 moves, and I think I just spent 4 minutes mainly to write down the moves and keeping the concentration. So it has been very easy play so far, and the position that now is clearly favorable for white, actually. Black played queen to golf 5 check, queen to golf 5. And I play king to bravo 1, king to bravo 1. And black played pawn to foxtrot 5, pawn to foxtrot 5. A move that makes a lot of sense. I still think that one of the more interesting things in these games, aspects of these games, rather, I would say, is that black, being a strong player, I repeat this, plays natural moves. Black wants to block the diagonal for the white bishop from delta 3 to hotel 7. But it actually has led that to a lost position. This is actually a position that is lost for black after 17 moves. White's plan is now to simply move the pawns up the board, opening more files, and that the pawn on foxtrot 5 is already, from foxtrot 7 has advanced to foxtrot 5, makes it easier for white to open more files on the king side by pushing the pawn to golf 4. That is the main drawback of having played pawn to foxtrot 4, pawn to foxtrot 5. I went on with playing pawn to golf 3, pawn to golf 3. The idea behind this move is that I want to push my pawn to hotel 4, and if black plays queen to golf 4, for example, I want to retreat with the queen. I don't want to swap queens, at least not most of the times. I want to keep the queens on the board. Although the chess engines often show that if black had played queen to foxtrot 6 earlier in the game, white could have still swapped queens and remained with this distinct advantage that the white pawn stone is dangerous even without queens. But I played golf 3 in order to give space for the queen to retreat, and you will see that I even went down to hotel 1 in the game. Black played rook alpha echo 8, rook alpha to echo 8. And I continued with rook hotel to echo 1, rook hotel to echo 1. Probably it was better to play pawn to hotel 4, or there were different ways. You could even play pawn to hotel 3, then going back with queen to golf 2, and prepare maybe for playing golf 4 to open files like that. But the way I played is also perfectly fine and easy to understand for a human being, I would say. So now both sides have developed all their pieces. Black played pawn to golf 6, also very logical. Now putting up what looks like a granite wall by 3 pawns, hotel 7, golf 6 and foxtrot 5. But we will see that this granite wall is nothing else than very vulnerable. I now went for queen to hotel 1. Now you see also another point behind golf 3 being played. Both that the queen could retreat, that I've already mentioned, but now white also threatens to play pawn to foxtrot 4, forking the queen and bishop. So white's position is pretty flexible here, so I can push hotel 4 or foxtrot 4, all according to circumstances. Black played pawn to foxtrot 4, taking space and stopping my pawn to fork the queen and bishop, of course. But at the same time, now the pawn has gone from foxtrot 7, where it gave some stability to the black's pawn shelter, up to foxtrot 4, which actually, it is not a good sign when you have to push the pawns on the side where your king is and where your opponent is trying to open files. That actually often results in that you help your opponent just to open files. And now we come to that part of the game where I try to open files even at the cost of a pawn. I played pawn to hotel 4. And of course, if black retreats with the queen to echo 7 or delta 8, the pawn can easily continue up to the board to hotel 5. And then we see how the bishop on delta 3 becomes more and more powerful and important in the position, because we see there are attacks on the kings are placed on different wings, and white is the only one who will be able to open files. So black played queen to hotel 5, and I didn't have to think very long until I played pawn to golf 4. It's very natural to sacrifice a pawn, because if black captures the half open g5, will be very important. It is not at all difficult. You don't need to calculate a lot. You just have to follow the principles that opening files against the enemy king is very important when we have opposite castled kings, and even more so maybe when we have uncolored bishops that I spoke of before. The attack then will be against the pawn on golf 6, which is on the white square, thus making it very difficult for black to defend, as his bishop is on a dark square. So we actually base our evaluation of the position out of two very basic principles, so that makes it easy for white to find this pawn sacrifice. Black played queen takes golf 4, and I played rook to golf 1. And now we see that the pawn on delta 5 actually plays a part in the attack. How weird it might sound. At least it takes away the square echo 6 from the black pieces. Echo 6 otherwise could have been a square that black would have wanted to use for protecting golf 6. So if black wouldn't simply collapse immediately, losing the pawn on golf 6 and then see even more files being opened, he has to play queen to hotel 5 as he did in the game. Queen to hotel 5. And I played rook to golf 5. Rook to golf 5. Black retreats again. Queen to hotel 6. Queen to hotel 6. And I can play rook delta to golf 1. Rook delta to golf 1. Yeah, and here you see the cost of a pawn. Now I have doubled on the golf 5 very quickly, and the coordination with the bishop on delta 3, and soon the pawn that comes to hotel 5 is, yeah, really pleasant for white, I must say. We can even think of sneaking in the queen, maybe by queen to hotel 3 down to delta 7. But even as I eventually played in the game, queen to foxtrot 3 to delta 1, and then going to echo 1 or delta 2, and thereby threatening to even infiltrate on the queen side via bravo 4, for example. But we will see this. The thing is that black has no counterplay. White is a pawn down, but will soon regain it. But black's pieces are hampered completely by the pawn on delta 4 blocking the bishop on echo 5. Black has not managed to open any files except already half open Charlie 5, but Charlie 2 is so well protected by the bishop on delta 3. So it is completely lost. I think the engines evaluate this like 2.5 pawns up for white. Black plays rook to foxtrot 6, rook to foxtrot 6. And I played pawn to hotel 5. Pawn to hotel 5. So black played king, foxtrot 8. King to foxtrot 8. And yeah, there are different ways to play here, but I choose queen to foxtrot 3. Queen to foxtrot 3. So I didn't want to exchange queens. It could have been playable taking on golf 6, but yeah, why not keep more pieces in the attack? Black's queen on hotel 6 is just a passive piece, whereas the queen on foxtrot 3 can take part in the attack, and from in different ways. Like I already mentioned, you can think of queen delta 1 to delta 2 to alpha 5. And now with the king on foxtrot 8, it is even more critical if white can infiltrate with the queen on the queen side. Alright, black played rook to echo 7. Rook to echo 7. And I went hotel takes golf 6. Hotel takes golf 6. Black recaptured. Hotel takes golf 6. Hotel takes golf 6. And I played pawn to alpha 3. Pawn to alpha 3. Maybe I may brag a little bit, even more than usual, about this move. I didn't need to capture on golf 6, which I could have done. Rook takes golf 6. My opponent was in time pressure. I don't remember exactly, it was long ago, but we are on move 29. And I think the time controls was 40 moves in 2 hours, and then 1 hour for the rest of the game. And as I played the first 20 moves in about 5 minutes, I was seriously up on the clock as well. So I think my opponent was down to maybe 5 minutes for the remaining 11 moves. Then it makes a lot of sense to play a move that improves your position. Alpha 3 is good, that I don't need to bother getting checkmated on the first rank. The king is pretty safe on Alpha 2 because it is a white square, not on the same color as the black dark square bishop. And also I got all time in the world to win back the pawn on Golf 6 if that would be even important. So pawn to Alpha 3, I think it is something you can learn. Play it, a good move. It also makes it difficult for black to know what to play. If your opponent is in time trouble, don't give him only forced moves to make all the time, like had we started to exchange rooks on Golf 6, for example. Then black would at least have played 1 or 2 quick moves. Now, after pawn to Alpha 3, all the threats remain, and black has to figure out what kind of move he can find at all. We can also note that white's queen can also find its way up to Golf 4 and down to Charlie 8. So black has all sorts of things to think about. Being in time trouble, that is not an easy thing. So I actually was taught that lesson by an international master, Ivo Ney from Estonia. I played him, I think it was in 1990 in Rilton Cup in Stockholm. We had met when I was with my that time club, SK Rokadel from Stockholm, invited to Paul Perez chess school of chess in Tallinn. And then I played against this very strong player in Rilton Cup, and I had a difficult position as black. And then he played such strengthening moves, improving the position, giving me all sorts of threats to think about in my time pressure, and I went down in flames pretty quickly. And then Ivone gave me this lecture that I might now try to give you. All right, pawn to Alpha 3. Black played rook to Hotel 7, rook to Hotel 7. And I played bishop takes Golf 6. Bishop takes Golf 6. This is a nice move because it keeps more pieces on the board. I regain a pawn on Golf 6, but more important than just to regain the pawn is that it opens the Golf file. So, and now you can see how dangerous it is for black. Had black now played rook to Golf 7, if I just think right out here, white both has rook to Hotel 5, trapping the black queen, and also queen to Golf 4, threatening queen to Charlie 8. It's very difficult for black to keep the position together. There's so many threats. All right. Black played queen to Hotel 3, queen to Hotel 3, offering the exchange of queens, but I played queen to Delta 1, queen to Delta 1. and black played rook to hotel 6. Rook to hotel 6. And I played bishop to echo 4. Bishop to echo 4. It would have been stronger to play bishop to hotel 5. That is right. That would control echo 8, making it interesting sometimes to play rook golf 8 and then follow up with rook echo 8 check. But bishop to echo 4 was my choice. I very much liked that position of the bishop, and also maybe to strengthen it by playing pawn to foxtrot 3. But I just wanted to play a natural move, and I had a very good position. So I think the end is a value to plus 5.5 pawns for white here. It's actually equal material on the board, but the position is horrible for black. Black played pawn to foxtrot 3. Pawn to foxtrot 3. And I played queen to echo 1. Queen to echo 1. Here you can see what I was hinting at earlier, that the queen can now come to alpha 5 and try to infiltrate. So queen to echo 1 comes with even more threats. It's good to keep black busy on what to do all over the board. Yeah, black must also consider such things like rook takes echo 5, delta takes echo 5, and queen to bravo 4 check. And then it might be difficult to cover everything up. So, black played queen to delta 7. Queen to delta 7. Yeah, so the queen goes down to protect against some of the threats I just mentioned. But we can see also that pawn on foxtrot 3 is, white can probably grab it pretty much whenever he wants. Yeah, right now it is protected, but it is a long-term weakness. I played rook to golf 8 check. Rook to golf 8 check. And black played king to echo 7. King to echo 7. Of course, you can't play king to foxtrot 7 because then one of the white's rooks. Oh, well, it will be checkmate. King foxes rook 1 to golf 7 will be checkmate. Besides, had the king been able to move, then the queen on delta 7 would have been lost. So, king to echo 7. And white played queen delta 2. Queen to delta 2. And queen to delta 2 also eyes the rook on hotel 6. So if black has to parry a check from a white rook to golf 7 by rook to foxtrot 7, then the rook on hotel 6 would fall. So that is one of the ideas with it. Also, the queen can come up to golf 5. And note how good it is to have the pawn on alpha 3, because even if I go up with both rooks, black can give a check on hotel 1 maybe, but then the king just goes to alpha 2 and there's no problem. Black played bishop to foxtrot 4. Bishop to foxtrot 4. I think black was in serious time pressure, but the position is lost either way. There is no way to defend against rook 1 coming up to golf 7. And yeah, with a tremendous attack for white. But bishop to foxtrot 4 loses material on the spot because I played rook 1 to golf 7 check. Rook 1 to golf 7 check. And black resigned. The only move for black to parry the check is rook to foxtrot 7, which I can meet with simply taking the bishop on foxtrot 4, queen takes foxtrot 4. But as I told, it was impossible to defend the position. The rook from hotel 6 had to move. Instead of, we say, bishop to foxtrot 4, that rook would move somewhere, and then it comes anyway, rook to golf 7, and the queen can come up to golf 5, and all white's pieces are joining the attack. So I wanted you to see this game, which contains the idea of bishop echo 2 against the Najdorf, and now we had the best move, pawn to echo 5 as response, the knight drop back to bravo 3, and then bishop to golf 5. And now it was a thematic game, swapping on foxtrot 6 in order to get some control of delta 5. Black responded by putting his knight on delta 4, so we have swaps there, and then swaps of knight and bishop on delta 5, resulting in the position with uncolored bishops, which we saw was not at all easy to handle for black. That position occurred after 14 moves. Castling kingside is very much criticized by the chess engine, but I would say absolutely most natural move for a human to play. And we saw how difficult, or rather how easy it was for black to get a lost position just after 2 free moves after these exchanges in the center. Echo takes delta 5 was in move 14, as I said. And we learn how the uncolored bishops makes the attack. It is very much favoring the attacking side. So, of course, this is not at all to say that this will give you an advantage against the Najdorf. No line actually does. But why not go for such a line instead of the most heavily theoretical? Try to understand those tabias, those kinds of positions instead. It requires a lot of study, I know, but it can actually pay off like it did for me in this game. So I wish you all the best. I probably will come up with similar ideas. This is not an opening course. It is, but I try to include opening ideas at the same time as I am teaching you more general things like how to play with uncolored bishops, with kings on opposite sides of the board, like we had in this game, for example. So I hope you enjoyed it, and looking forward to hearing from you in the comments. And yeah, come with ideas what to do. But I actually came up with these ideas to present some opening ideas when I was asked in the comment field earlier by a very kind viewer who wanted me to present some ideas what you could do if you are how can you build up an opening repertoire. This is still pretty much for slightly more advanced players, I might guess, but I think as you play through the videos, you can learn a lot and implement these ideas, even if you are not yet, but soon, hopefully soon, a strong player. And I think I might also in the future come up with opening suggestions for those who are just beyond the beginner's level, but I haven't had the time to work it through yet. But yeah, I keep it in mind. Thank you for now.